Did you have any relatives in the military?
In the service?
Yeah.
Well, 3 brothers. That was pretty close, and then about 5 cousins and nephews, and I don't know how many was really all around.
Yeah. What were they in?
Well,
Tell us what they were in.
Chuck was in the infantry in the Army. Dan was in the Air Corps in Europe, and Lou was he was a pilot in China.
In China. Where?
All 4 of us was overseas at one time.
Wow.
That'd be something.
Where were you on Pearl Harbor Day?
Pearl Harbor Day, I was in Steubenville, Ohio.
Really? Wow.
What were you doing? Were you already done already?
In Pearl Harbor Day, no, I was going to go see some girl in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
We Chuck Nicholson, and then my brother Chuck started to go with her after I went to the service.
Oh, buddy, I'll tell you, nothing was safe, was it?
I'd say not.
Where were you? How did you hear about it?
It was on the radio.
It was on the radio?
In the 51 red Chevrolet, 2-door. I remember that. I don't know where you was at. Where was you at on Pearl Harbor Day? Remember when you heard it?
I was working down on East Tusk. I was waitress in the restaurant down there, and I remember the bands and the people marching down East Tusk. Clear out there by that. Remember that Sahia station?
Mm-hmm.
It was down below that in Leatherman's where.
Oh my!
But I remember that distinctly, and I remember when we went into war. That was Sunday evening. I was ironing something for school, like you always did, for Monday morning. And but that's it.
What was your profession before the war?
Oh, I worked at Timpkins, roller bearing, round roller bearing, or not roller bearings, Timpkins, taper bearings.
And where did you work after the war?
But I went back to Timpkins, and then I self-employed at a garage.
Okay. How many kids do you have?
How many kids?
Yeah.
We have 1 boy and 1 girl.
How many grandchildren?
Got 5 granddaughters and 2 great-granddaughters.
Where were you born and where did you grow up?
Where I was born in Canton, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
At home?
At home, yeah. There was no hospital. I mean, there was a hospital.
Yeah, but, yeah.
None of us was born in the hospital. I mean, of the 7 kids.
Mm-hmm. How? You weren't the oldest.
No, Dan's the oldest, and then Lou, and then me, and Chuck, Honey, Jean Ann, and Ruth.
You had a sister
Louise.
between Jean Ann, didn't you?
Huh?
You had a sister between Honey and Jean Ann.
After.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was the other way around.
How old were you when you enlisted in the Army or Marines?
Marines, 20, I think I was 20. Just beating the draft.
When did you enlist?
December 15th, 42.
He remembers that.
When did you get out?
May 25th, 46. Made the whole way to PFC, praying for civilian.
One was a lieutenant. What was Dan? Sergeant?
He was I don't know what he was platoon. It wasn't platoon, it was the technical sergeant.
And what was Chuck?
Chuck was sergeant, just plain sergeant.
He drove the big wet wigs around Patton and all that.
Did Chuck drive Patton?
Not just Patton, one of them, most of them. He was in the same with Patton's army.
Yeah. And what was your job?
Who's my job? His job. My job.
Your job in the service.
Oh, well, I went to ordnance school. I was in charge of all ordnance aboard the planes that we flew. And tail gunner, then top turret gunner, whatever needed a gunner. I mean, that's where we was at.
What kind of planes did you fly?
We flied in PBYs, B-25, A-26, SBDs, and the last one was the Helldiver. That was the Curtis Helldiver. And then we went to the infantry. And as soon as and then I was at a mortar crew then. When the war ended in Europe, they didn't need the Marine Air Force because they had the Air Force that was bigger and longer distance. And so they transferred 90% of us was in the Air Force to the infantry. And that was another ordeal.
So what, you carried mortar?
Yeah, well, that was mortars. Well, in the 81 mortars, there were three pieces. One carried the barrel, one carried the triangles, and the other one the base. And then you had 5 guys carrying ammunition. So that was kind of like a platoon. But,
Did you serve under? What generals did you serve under?
pardon?
What generals did you serve under?
I still didn't hear you.
What generals did you serve under? What generals did you serve under?
Oh, as generals that served under them?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we really, what was it, Holland Mad Smith. That was the last one when he was going overseas to invade Japan. I mean, and he says, we will take all these islands if it takes every Marine in the Pacific.
Hey.
And he was asked, he says, I suppose you're going to be the first guy in the boat trying to go. He said, no, he says, I got to stay aboard this battleship to
that's always nice.
instruct it. So that was his Holland Mad.
Holland?
Holland. What was Holland?
Holland.
He was something like blood and guts.
Holland Mad.
I mean,
Yeah.
Holland Mad Smith. He was the biggest one out in the Pacific Marines.
Did you liberate anyone?
You know what?
Liberate anyone?
No. No liberation. We didn't. There was no liberation. No.
When you were up in the airplanes, were you fighting other airplanes, or were you shooting at things down below?
Most of the time we were submarine patrol between Panama and Key West and then along the East Coast. I mean,
looking for their subs?
Yeah, for German subs.
Did you ever find any?
On one. We went down to torpedo it. We dropped the torpedo and dropped into the drink reserve for about 2 days. I mean,
Ocean.
In a life raft. 5 of us, and that was. We knew he was going to pick the PBY picked us up. I mean, it was on the main course from.
You were out in the ocean in a life raft for 5 days?
No, 2.5 days.
Okay, 2.5 days.
2.5.
That's a lot.
Did they shoot you down?
No, we didn't. We lost.
You just.
When we went in for the approach, we dropped the torpedo, and he wanted to pull around and see if we hit, and he pulled too short, and dropped it down in.
Okay.
And so that was an experience.
No kidding. Did you see any sharks?
Well, they never. There was about 5 is all we ever seen in them 3 to 2.5 days. I mean, they was in, and they never wasn't as bad as that Indianapolis deal. And it just happened to be there wasn't there at the time we was there. I mean, just like fishing, you know what I mean?
Well, you didn't have any water or anything, did you?
Well, we was in a life raft. I mean,
Did it have supplies?
It had little supplies. I mean, and it had enough that we survived. Yeah,
That's amazing. I never knew that. That's amazing. A life raft floating around in the ocean.
That's always fun. Do you have any wounds from the war?
No.
What else should I ask?
That was really something.
No Purple Hearts. I left them all. The only 2 medals I got is my dog tags yet. I didn't want any between my teeth, so I brought them home.
Good idea.
Okay. I think we're done. So, it's only 11 minutes.
Supposed to be longer.
Well,
And I told him, wanted to know if I was going to join the reserves when we were discharged, and I said, buddy, there's going to be 2 guys missing the next time. He said, what do you mean 2 guys? He said, me and the guy that just sent after me. So,
That's how well he liked it.
I can tell.
no, it was an experience that, like Uncle Dan said, I wouldn't take $1 million for the experience I had. But you'd have to give me more than $1 million to go through it again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Lou went in to get a colonoscopy, and the doctor there got to talking about the service.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he's real proud that he
Yeah.
was a lieutenant.
Mm-hmm.
And what plane he flew. And here this doctor's father was in the same branch.
Oh,
so the
my
next time
goodness.
Lou went up, he took his medals and everything. And he said, I bet he had everyone in that office area, plus some out in the
Looking at
waiting room. Looking. Would you believe this man done that?
Yeah. Well, that's the story about Lou and the guy from, was it Waynesburg? That he talked to on the radio, or was it Lou, or, and they never knew that each other.
When they were in the service, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
What might have been, there was...
I thought it was Lou, but maybe I was wrong.
What's was over there too. Blackie. He was over in India, and
the one that had
Lou
the
used to
ice
fly
cream
over the hump,
stand?
what they call all in the Himalayas there.
Oh.
And that's they was protecting the most of the time the transport planes flying in
Gotta
supplies
see
to
who
China.
made $1 million tonight. Just a second, I'll be back.
Anything else you'll need to know?
What were your feelings towards Germany at this time, like during the war?
What was I doing in Germany?
No, what were your feelings towards them?
Towards Germany? Well, we weren't too involved with German. We didn't like the Japanese very well.
Mm-hmm.
Slant-eyed son of a gun. No, we didn't call him that. There was another word in there.
You should have asked Uncle Lou, because, what was it, he shot a plane down?
Oh, he got
Right
shot
beside
down.
him, he got shot down and swung around and seen one of his buddy's plane.
Oh, my.
Exploded.
What did you do when you weren't fighting?
Oh, drinking beer.
Don't tell him that.
Well, it says here,
that's what
entertainment
I
USO
wanted.
shows. Did you see any of the USO shows or anything?
Yeah, that's the same one.
Where was that?
That was out at Camp Pendleton in California. I just a hillbilly away from Hollywood.
Yeah.
What was it?
Oh, I can't remember. I remember the guy, Johnny something, but I can't remember what it was. And the girl was polka dot. She used to wear a polka dot dress, but I don't remember her name.
How'd you meet your wife?
I'll meet my wife. Blind date.
I've been blind ever since.
Did you really meet on a blind date?
Yes.
Oh, jeez, I'm learning all kinds of things.
I was going steady with a guy for a long time. We finally broke up, and Joe Creekus was gone with June. And he said, I'm going to bring you some guy up. Well, this is what he brought. But we only had one date, and he knew I was very much against drinking. And he went to Toshi's to get a pack of cigarettes. And those guys drug him in. And he didn't come that next Saturday night, because he knew.
He's in the doghouse.
And he promised then that he would quit drinking, and he did, and he's never drank since.
What a guy.
What a
Because I had enough of that growing up. Grandpa Smith was a pretty good drinker.
Yeah.
And thank God Buck doesn't drink, well, none of yous really, or smoke.
What's your most vivid memory from the war? Get down all
Well,
I got to see if you answered that question. I'll be right back.
well, I don't know really what was the most. That was when we was in the pond now. I mean, down in the Caribbean, and the Caribbean, and then in the life raft. That was, I'd say, was the most. I remember that.
Oh, I bet. I'll bet.
That most of the time, I mean, it's just routine, and it's so much routine. I mean, they could eliminate about 95% of the maneuvers and stuff like that they go through, and slow as they go through them. And everyone said a lot of efficient, but I mean, I don't ever thought that was efficient. Well, we went to ordnance school, and then we went to bombardier school, and then we went to, I mean, some of the bombardier school was only 2 weeks, and radar, and then operations, they call it, out in the boonies. Actually, all you do was shoot skeet. I mean, then there was which was to coordinate with, to try to get them. And they just like, like the guy said, we was up there at the Camp Macron, and B-25, and back the tail, the guy said, I mean, that was all it only moves like this, the tail gun, or up and down, but I mean, out there, it's just, I said, we get out 300 yards, you've got a good range. Says, when you get that zero in that there finder, says, you want to be pulling the trigger, because he's going to be pulling his. That's when he was within range of his guns. I mean, so that was the